All right, welcome everybody. We're here at the Learning Bitcoin and Design call, the Bitcoin design community. I'm gonna still kind of focusing on the general topic of Lightning this week, kind of carrying on what we've been doing for the past two calls or so. Um, for this week's call, hold on one second. I'm gonna switch my mic setup. There we go. That sounds better. So for this week's call, we're going to focus on some questions that Magashni asked me. She's not able to make it to today's call, but these are some questions that she was really interested in learning about, which is basically just about kind of like the different methods of channel construction. Or I guess I shouldn't say channel construction. I should really say the different methods for getting a user connected with their first payment channels when they open their Lightning wallet for the first time. And there's just, we've all probably played around with many different Bitcoin wallets, and each wallet kind of has its own onboarding flow. And, I think several people on this call are involved in the Blix design sprint. And Blix is a little unique in that it kind of has multiple different ways you can do it, depending, like, you can send to an on-chain address or a Lightning address, connect to your own node. So it's just kind of a lot of different methods floating around right now. And just wanted to look through some of the pros and cons of those different methods, what that might look like for the user. And then Roz had also messaged me on Slack with a question, and I think I'm going to try and cover that one as well. It's either going to be one of those questions that we're able to cover very succinctly, or it's going to spiral into all kinds of technical jib jab. So we'll just kind of see which direction that goes. Any questions or comments before I just dive in?
Nope, not on my end.
All right, cool. So
nope.
Ross wanted to speak. I think I just saw that. Maybe it went away.
No. Slipped.
It slipped. Okay, we're all good.
Yeah, so we have this issue open right now. This is the one Roz pointed out to me. We have this issue open right now on the guide repository, which has been a little bit neglected, that we need to get to, which is basically about channel reserve and like kind of what that means for a Lightning wallet. And the issue here that Steve is talking about is just, what kind of UX guidance we can provide to wallet designers and developers about how to explain channel reserve to users, or, if we even need to at all, I guess might be another way of thinking about the problem. So let's talk a little bit about what channel reserve is. And so I just whipped up some super quick diagrams here. But what I've got here open on the Fig Jam that I'm sharing is just like a simple diagram. I'm just reprising our Alice and Bob scenario that we keep talking about. And Alice has opened the channel to Bob, and she's put in $100,000, which means that she can send 100,000, not $100,000, 100,000 sats. She can send 100,000 sats in Bob's direction on the channel, right? And basically she sends a payment to Bob for the first time. So now the channel balance has shifted. So now there's 25,000 sats on Bob's side of the channel, and there's 75,000 sats on Alice's side of the channel. And so remember, every time this channel balance, every time Alice routes a payment through this channel, a new like Bitcoin transaction is being created. It's not being sent to the miners. It's just being created, and it's being signed by Alice and Bob, and they're updating the channel state. And so they're going to, she keeps doing this. She keeps paying Bob or routing payments through his node. Eventually her balance is 50,000. Then let's say she makes so many payments, she eventually gets to the point where her channel balance is zero. So then, okay, her channel balance is zero. Then let's say, for example, Alice decides she wants to close the channel. So what happens next? So like we kind of talked about in some of the previous calls, there's going to be this final closing transaction that gets sent to the miners. And let's say Alice cooperatively closes the channel with Bob, meaning their two nodes talk to each other. They kind of negotiate how they're going to close. They close it out and broadcast it to the miners. If Alice does that, she ends up with 0 Satoshis, right? Because her balance was 0. There's another path she could take here, which is she could try to force close the channel. She could try to close it without Bob noticing. And if she does this, there's two possibilities. One possibility, well, let's back up a little bit here. She could try to force close the channel without asking Bob for permission first. Not only that, she could also try and close it out using this previous transaction up here or this transaction up here, either one of them, right? So instead of sending this transaction to the miners, she's going to try and just go behind Bob's back and send this one. Or let's go all the way. Let's say she tries to send this one to the miners, right? And that way she's going to get all of her money back. That's bad. So like what's going to, well, let me back up a little bit too and not go down another separate rabbit hole. So she could try to do this, right? She could try to send this transaction to the miners and get all of her money back. But what's going to happen is she has about 2 weeks. The way that the justice transactions are coded inside of these smart contracts, she basically has to wait 2 weeks before she can access her funds. So during that 2-week time, if Bob notices that she's trying to cheat, Bob will initiate a justice transaction and he will swipe all of the funds in the channel. But the thing about it is that he already had all of the funds in the channel anyways, right? So if he does do this, like Alice already had zero anyways, so it's kind of like it's effectively the same. Another possibility is that maybe Bob doesn't notice, maybe he's on vacation or whatever. He doesn't notice that Alice is trying to force close the channel, and Alice is able to walk away with all of the money that was supposed to belong to Bob. Right? So that'd be really bad. So the idea is that channel reserve fixes this. And what happens is when Alice and Bob's node are kind of negotiating the opening of their channel, they come to an agreement that's like, okay, this is what I want the channel reserve amount to be. So let's say it's 1,000 sats. That means that there's no way that that Alice's channel balance can be less than 1,000. So at this point, if Alice tries to route a payment through Bob, his node's going to be like, can't do that. This breaks the channel reserve. And same thing if Bob tried to do that. If the channel balances were flipped and it was all green on one side and all purple, if Bob tried to send too much money across, she wouldn't allow it. So, but keeping this reserve, it makes it so she always has skin in the game. It changes the game theory of the situation so that now if she tries to cheat on, or it always sounds so like romantic when we're talking about Lightning. They're going to try and cheat on their channel partner. Anyways, if Alice tries to cheat by submitting a prior transaction, then she runs the risk of losing these 1,000 sats. So it's like she could still try to cheat, and she might have a like it's kind of like gambling. Like she might be able to cheat and run away with 99,000 sats, but it's like it's really heavily unlikely. So like at this point, it's easier, quicker, and just more profitable to just walk away with the 1,000 sats than it is to try and cheat. So yeah, it's not like a catch-all thing that like it's not going to be like a total solution that's going to prevent bad behavior on Lightning Network, but it significantly alters the game theoretical rewards of trying to cheat, and so it just makes it that it kind of incentivizes much better behavior on the network. So you always kind of want this channel reserve capacity, unless your channel partner is like your best friend in the whole world or something. But as we proceed with Lightning, we're really not going to know most of our channel partners. They're probably going to be companies and Lightning service providers and things like that. So you want a channel reserve just to kind of keep things in check there. So the question would be then like how to communicate that to the user, and that's an open question, and maybe Roz can do some thinking on that for us. I'll go ahead and say, while it's like Moon, don't bother telling you anything about that because they use a much more novel approach to Lightning involving submarine swaps, which we'll get to when we look at Magashini's questions next. So Moon doesn't really, the user never has to worry about channel reserves on Moon as far as I'm aware. And as far as I can tell, most of the wallets just don't communicate it to the user. So I personally think that with wallets like Phoenix and Breeze, or not Breeze, I meant to say Phoenix and Blix, which run a little more on the advanced side, in my opinion, that seems like that could be problematic. You've got wallets like Breeze that kind of automatically, their solution to the problem is to just kind of automatically help you like open a new channel, or they'll come up with an alert message being like, da 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 da, you need more liquidity. We're going to open a channel for you if you accept this payment, that kind of thing. So I don't know that any wallet provider has like solved the problem perfectly, but that's kind of the why of that. That's why channel reserves are a thing that exists. All right, I'm hearing noises coming from the chat here.
Would you say that most of the wallets implement this, or is it kind of an optional feature?
As far as I'm aware, they do. Like I said, Moon doesn't because their approach is novel. I can tell you for a fact that Blixt and Phoenix do implement it because I've gone into the channels screen. Like I've dug into the advanced settings of both of those wallets and like looked at the channel settings, and I have indeed found a channel reserve balance there. Those are the only two wallets I can confirm, though.
Another question I would have is, so basically you would not be able to withdraw the full amount of sats that you have in a channel. Is that correct? You would need to have that reserve.
Well, no, I would think about it differently. Alice can withdraw it totally if she cooperatively closes the channel. In other words, she tries to close the channel, following the rules, communicating with Bob. She can absolutely withdraw these 1,000 sats back to her or back to her on-chain wallet. The distinction is that she can't she can't route these sats. So she can't route these sats across this Lightning channel or to other Lightning nodes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
So like the solution in the situation, let's just brainstorm a little bit. Like let's say Alice is running this super easy Lightning wallet on her phone, and it runs like a lightweight, node on the phone. That's supposed to be as easy as possible, and maybe she doesn't even know about channels because the app just makes it so easy. So maybe you could imagine a situation where her channel gets this low, and it pops up with some message saying on your next payment, or we need to get you more liquidity on the network or something like that. There's going to be a minor transaction fee for this. Are you okay with this? And it opens up a new channel for her the next time somebody sends her a payment. Maybe this is with the LSP or something like that. Maybe this is with the LSP as well. And it just opens up a new channel so that she can start like receiving payments or something like that. Well, I guess she already has channel balance, inbound liquidity on this side. So I'm realizing that what I just did there was useless as I say it out loud. But my point being is that like you could imagine a situation where like there's a Lightning node on a phone that kind of manages the channels in the background and is able to open and close channels on behalf of the user without them having to worry about it. So there could be potential ways around this if we get creative with the UI and with the development of it. I'm gonna delete all that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I have a better understanding. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Let's see what's going on now. Clap sound effect, sweet. Oh, hey, Millie.
Millie wanted to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk. I really don't get the purpose of a channel reserve. Why would someone want not be able to spend that money? I don't get it.
Well, it's more in this situation here. This is it's more to protect Bob in this situation.
Okay.
So it's more to protect Bob so that like I said, if it gets to a situation where Alice doesn't have anything on the channel here,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to dive into the cryptography because that might like start to fry brains. But
That's fine.
the basic scenario is that if Alice has zero funds on her side, it opens up the door. Think about this: when she has zero funds, she has nothing to lose. Quite
Yeah.
literally, she has nothing to lose. So because she has nothing to lose, there's nothing to prevent her from behaving bad and trying to kind of, if you want to think of it kind of like hacking, there's nothing to prevent her from kind of trying to hack the system and swipe some of Bob's funds because she has nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So by making it so that she does has something to lose, and if she behaves badly, she will lose this as well. Like it incentivizes good behavior. And the way to think about it is it works both ways. So let's say it was the other way around. Let's say all the money was on Bob's side of the channel. Like if we're saying that, you know, green represents Alice and purple represents Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say, oh man, where did my green go? I'm pretty sure I just had like a green rectangle and it just disappeared. Whatever. You know, like let's say it was on the you know, complete other side, and it was that Bob had nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the exact same thing. Bob could try and kind of cheat the situation in his favor if he didn't have anything to lose. So you always want to have that little amount on either side so that the party has something to lose.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that it does make sense that you want to be able to spend all the money, and the kind of the correct solution on Lightning would be, you know, like, yeah, she wants to spend that, but like a node should really have like multiple channels, and in a lot of situations, like a node should have multiple channels with different kind of fluctuating states. And
Yeah.
like kind of the amount of money she has on Lightning is like the sum of all these channels.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I don't know if that made sense or not, but it's really, it helps protect kind of both parties.
Okay. Maybe the reason I'm not understanding is I thought what it is okay, yeah, maybe the reason I'm not understanding is because I thought the justice transaction, for example, if Alice tries to cheat, she will lose her money anyways because of the justice transaction. So that's why maybe I don't understand what's the purpose of a channel reserve.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You're thinking exactly right. The
Okay.
justice transaction makes it so that Alice loses her money. That's what you just said, right?
Yeah.
But what money is she going to lose? Because it says right there she has zero.
Yeah, but she wouldn't cheat when she has zero money. She would cheat like earlier, right?
No,
But
this is
she would. Okay.
This is exactly the situation where she would cheat because, well, sorry, finish your train of thought. I want to hear how you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, like if currently other transaction Alice has zero, she would want to cheat at an earlier transaction, right? When she has like 50,000 instead of paying Bob like 100,000.
Sorry.
So
Maybe
yeah.
I could provide a little bit of insight. I think what Steven is saying, and maybe I'm hearing it wrong, Steven, you help me out here. He's saying, like, say I'm Alice and I'm like, I'm going to do something bad, right? I'm going to steal. I'm going to cheat on someone. I'm going to do it when I've got nothing they could take from me. The incentives are all right for me because I'm going to do something bad. And what are you going to do to me? I have nothing that you can take from me. That's kind of what Steven's saying. There's nothing
Okay.
Alice can lose because she's got zero in the bank account. If she was to do it when she had stuff, then someone could say, okay, Alice, you did me dirty, like, you know, make it right. But she's got nothing. So she's good if she has zero. Is that right, Stephen?
That is right. And let me think, I think I just thought of like something that will help help make this idea clearer. Let's talk about what Alice is buying. Let's imagine it that way. So let's say that this is something like more valuable than just coffee. Like let's say she's buying like electronics, or laptops or something from Bob, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she starts off with 100,000 sats in the channel. Ignore the bad price comparisons, but she starts off with 100,000 sats in the channel. And then she starts buying expensive electronics from Bob, like a laptop and a Wacom tablet and a new phone. Each one of these payments she's making is a new phone. So she spends all of her funds on electronics from Bob's store.
Mm-hmm.
Now she has zero money and all of these electronics. Now is her incentive to cheat, to try and get her money back without giving the electronics back.
Okay, yeah, okay, I understand more. Yes, okay, it's clear. Yeah.
Yeah, and because she has nothing to lose, it's like, well, might as well.
Yeah. All right, I gotcha. I understood. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Stephen, I don't know if you saw, there's a message in the chat. I'm happy to read it right now if you want, or you could check out the chat. Just wanted to draw attention to that.
I'm reading this right now. This mysterious J, is this only an issue for non-custodial wallets or both custodial and non-custodial? What do custodial Lightning wallets need to consider? I think this is only an issue for non-custodial Lightning wallets. And the distinction, for anyone who's not familiar with these terms yet, non-custodial and custodial. Custodial is just kind of like, it's the not your keys, not your coins thing. It's basically just the idea that if it's custodial, somebody is kind of custodying the Bitcoin for you. It's very much more like a traditional fintech app, like a PayPal or Venmo or something. Non-custodial is, you're responsible for your own private keys, your own coins. I don't see channel reserve as really being an issue for custodial wallets so much. Like, it's obviously it's an issue, I think, for the custodian of the funds, because they're probably running a large, really well-connected Lightning node. So it's up to them to make sure that their network infrastructure is functioning properly and all of that, but and to make sure that they're not losing any of their users' money. But it doesn't really fall on the user to worry about channel reserve balances right there. I see it really as being a non-custodial wallet issue. Well, I'm going to move on to the other topics, unless anybody has any final questions.
I don't want to interrupt. There was one more question. It just popped in there. I can read it, or you can check it out.
Yeah, please do. Go for it. What's up?
Okay, yeah. So the question is from Millie. She can jump in if she wants, but it says, on Lightning, you can only try to cheat the transaction by closing the channel, right? Since it goes on the blockchain, ? Is there other ways people want to try to cheat? So it's a three-part question. Is that it?
I'm not aware of any other way to cheat. That would be that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know where else you would try to cheat the transaction other than in the closing. I might be wrong on that, but that's the only place I can think of.
Does that make sense, Millie? I don't know. Maybe you want to jump in here if it wasn't clear.
No, it totally makes sense. I don't know any other use cases that you would try to cheat on Lightning either. So I was just wondering.
There's definitely all kinds of hacks and security and privacy concerns and all of that you can run into on Lightning. That's probably a deeper topic than we want to get into in this call. But in terms of just Alice and Bob cheating, I can't think of any other place other than the channel close. All right, cool. I'm going to move on to some of the questions that Magashi had asked. If everybody's ready to move on. Basically, she was just, she and I were having a conversation. This is just kind of a continuation of a conversation that she and I were having about just different ways that wallets can open channels for their users. And, just as a starting point, I brought up a dedicated Lightning node just as an example. This isn't the kind of thing that most users are going to interact with. Obviously, we still have we have things like Umbrel, which make running a Lightning node very easy, but it's still more of an advanced kind of thing. You have to kind of manage it and all of that. But this is what a dedicated Lightning node might look like. This is the user interface for that. And so as you can see, there's a Bitcoin tab, there's a Lightning tab. This is kind of like that thing we were looking at last week where I was talking about how it has the blockchain, a copy of the blockchain on the device. And kind of like those diagrams I was just drawing over to the left with Alice and Bob, that's kind of like what's going on right here. You got your purple and you got your green. So there's just different channel balances depending on how many payments have been routed. So this node here has channels with a lot of different nodes. And this kind of user is more advanced. So they're probably going to go to a website like lightningnetwork.plus or lightningplus.net. I don't know, some kooky modern URL. But, basically they find people who want to engage in these liquidity swaps, which is a fancy way of saying people who want to open channels together. And, they open channels together and then they've got a bunch of liquidity, right? That's, again, more advanced and your average user isn't going to be doing that. That's not what we're designing for when we talk about building daily spending mobile Lightning wallets. So when we're talking about daily spending mobile Lightning wallet, what we're usually talking about is what I call a lightweight node. I don't know if maybe there's a better term for that. I don't know if I heard that term somewhere or if I just came up with it and started using it. I don't know, but lightweight node is the word I use, and somebody can correct me if there's a better term. But this is kind of these diagrams will look similar to last week because I copied and pasted some of them and rearranged them. This is basically just a node that doesn't hold its own copy of the blockchain. Where we had that picture last week of Bitcoin Core and it has the little blockchain icon on it. Well, that's not what this thing is. It's just a phone. It has a Lightning node, but in terms of getting its blockchain data, it would rely on other nodes on the network. So here's the full nodes right here. They got their own copy of the blockchain. They use this protocol called Neutrino, which, as I understand it, basically just allows this mobile phone to turn on and be like, hey, what up, Bitcoin network? Give me some block data. And a little more complicated than that, but it uses a system of block filters. But the idea is that this, there could be a ton of these things. There could be full nodes all over the Bitcoin network. And, I think Neutrino is supposed to allow mobile devices to be able to get the blockchain data from whatever node that they want. So that makes it so it doesn't require as much disk space and storage space as this bad boy over here, because it doesn't have to hold its own full copy of the blockchain. So that makes things a little bit easier, and it allows you to run a Lightning wallet off of a mobile device. But that doesn't solve the question of well, how does it get its channels? So when I say lightweight node, I'm really just referring to a situation like this, where the phone is pinging the rest of the network trying to get its blockchain data. But in terms of getting channels, there's a couple different ways that it could do that. And maybe a good way would be to start with manual channel creation, just because it's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time when we talk about these Alice and Bob scenarios. If I go to Blix, I opened the Blix wallet on the website and took a screenshot of this. If you dig into the settings menu on Blix, you will find something called Lightning Channels, and then you can hit the little new channel button, and it'll take you to this screen, and you could paste in the address of your friend's Lightning node, Bob's Lightning node, whatever, and tell it how much money you want the channel to be for, and open a channel with that node. That would work totally fine from this mobile device. Again, that's not easy. I don't mind doing this, but that's not for everybody. And this isn't a mainstream adoption use case. So then we move on to something like a lightweight node that's got automated channel creation from a Lightning invoice. And this is a screenshot of Phoenix. And basically what it is, this is from the onboarding flow. They kind of explain it to you. They're like, hey, we automatically open channels for you, and there's going to be a little bit of a fee. And basically, you create a Lightning invoice. So let's say I could go to my friend and be like, hey, can you send me 10,000 sats at least? And they say, okay. And they send it to this Lightning invoice here. and it automatically opens a channel for you. So like it might be a good way to, and I think Breeze functions in a very similar way. They kind of automate the channel creation process when you receive your first payment. I'm just gonna like quickly draw this out. So this, like, let's say this is like your lightweight node wallet. I'm gonna call it Phoenix, Breeze, whatever. And then you have your friend Bob with a ton of Bitcoin. It's just sending out Bitcoin, I guess. And then you have, you know, the wallet LSP provide, you know, in the middle of all of this. I'll give them a different color. And the idea is you generate a Lightning invoice here, give it to your friend that's got the Bitcoin. And so your friend tries to route you money over the Lightning network. And let's say, you know, really what it is probably going to be like is you're going to have node, other node. Let's just call this other node. No, let's give it a cool name, Chan. There we go. And Dina. We'll reuse our names from our previous videos. You know, what's really included here, you give the Lightning invoice, the little QR code there, you give that to your friend. And it so happens that, you know, Bob's already got some channels open. His node's got some channels open. And there's like a hint inside of this invoice that tells Bob's node how to route the payment to this LSP. So Bob routes the payment to Chan, routes the payment to Dina routes the payment to the wallet LSP, and then the wallet LSP opens a channel with your node, which is, again, it's just a phone basically. So let's like copy and paste that phone picture there just to be absolutely clear. It automatically opens that channel and they probably take a cut. They're probably going to take like a transaction fee of, what was it? Okay, so we had a little technical hiccup there and everyone got booted off of Jitsi. We're back. I'm going to share my screen here and we'll like figure out how long I was talking without realizing that we had all been booted. Okie dokie. So I'm back here in Figma and it sounds kind of like everyone heard the part about how, like, you know, Phoenix and Breeze and stuff like that offer ways of, you know, doing an automatic channel creation kind of thing. And I basically just described a scenario where you know, generate this Lightning invoice QR code, you give it to your friend Bob, and and it includes a hint that tells Bob's node how to find the wallet's Lightning service provider. And it routes the payment, and then the Lightning service provider automatically opens your first channel for you. And in the future, if you start running out of liquidity, in other words, if it starts to look like this right here, where the channel is starved and, you know, you don't have enough money on your side of the channel or whatever, you could imagine a situation where the Lightning service provider, next time you try to receive a payment from somebody, it automatically opens another channel for you because they probably have a whole army of Lightning nodes in the cloud. So, you know, as long as Lightning service providers are charging transaction fees and stuff like that, routing fees as they're called, they're making money, and so they're incentivized to provide that service. And if the UX is implemented right, it could be really easy on the user. So that was kind of like a TLDR on what I was talking about. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions on that before I move on?
Not on my side.
I'm good.
Okay.
Keep going.
So like a slight variant of that, which I won't like linger on, is doing the same thing, but with an on-chain address. And Phoenix supports this as well. And also Blix supports this. It's a very similar kind of thing. You know, in the onboarding screen, they tell you about their fees up front. And the basic idea is that, you know, if you already have some Bitcoin in another wallet, or your friend has some Bitcoin in another wallet, in an on-chain wallet, you could generate an on-chain address from the phone, and you know, you'll notice that these screens look very similar. They both have the minimum of 10,000 sats, and it looks very similar, but it's basically, well, you know, they explain it right there. It's a swap address. It's not controlled by your wallet. So what I got to be honest with you. I don't know exactly what Phoenix's infrastructure looks like here. I'm not sure if this might be an on-chain address that's like run by one of their cloud servers, but I'm not sure on that. So I stand to be corrected by someone who like works for Phoenix and knows how that is set up. So I'm not sure if this is like fully trust minimized or not, but the basic idea is pretty similar. It's just that the money gets sent on chain to this wallet address. You know, it gets mined in the next block, and then that money is immediately then folded into a Lightning channel. I think Blixt does it very similarly, but a little different. I believe it's actually like an on-chain address that is generated by the wallet. But you know, again, Blixt is a little bit opinionated, as I call it, as a wallet. And I think, if I remember correctly, when you send on-chain funds to the wallet, I think like the very first time you turn the app on, if you send on-chain funds to it, it tries to create a channel automatically. Because they, you know, the idea is that it's like, let's get you connected to Lightning as quick as possible and not mess around with this on-chain stuff. So that's just kind of a variant, but a variant on the same idea. Where it starts to get like a little tricky is when you start getting into stuff like Moon. How do I begin to describe this? I'm going to go ahead and say it, like, I'm not an expert on how Moon runs their infrastructure. If we wanted to do a technical deep dive, we would need to reach out to some of the people on that team and get them to like really talk to us about it. But they use like submarine swaps, and like what a submarine swap is it's basically just, can you send money, like, can you send on-chain funds to, or let me put it this way, can you send Lightning funds to an on-chain address? So it's basically, any Moon wallet is not really a Lightning wallet, as I understand it. It's a 2 of 2 multi-sig wallet, and it's all on-chain. And I'm hearing sounds from the chat, so let me make sure there's nothing. Okay, we're all still connected. I'm paranoid now that every time I hear a sound, it means we've been disconnected. So this wallet right here is really like a 2 of 2 multi-sig on-chain wallet. And it's this kind of like weird situation. Like, let me try and draw out a diagram of it as best as I can. Yeah, I'll put like a circle here. I'll make this one blue. And I'm just going to call this like Moon Cloud Lightning infrastructure. So, you know, they're running Lightning nodes. I'm just going to put a whole bunch of them here and have them all connected, because I'm sure that they probably have more than one. And I'm going to be like real annoying about this and put arrows on both ends, even though I know it's totally not necessary. But details like that bother me. So, you know, you got the Moon stuff up in the cloud there, right? And then you got your little Moon wallet down here. And I'm actually going to delete the Lightning symbol from this diagram, because I don't think the phone really runs a Lightning node. Now, I hear the new version of Moon, I think they're kind of rejigging some stuff, I think. Please feel free to fact check me on that. I think they're changing the way it works. But so you get your phone right here, and you know, it's basically an on-chain wallet. So I'll go ahead and drag this down here. I'm just going to label this as on-chain wallet. And basically, it's a 2 of 2 multi-sig, and you have like one key here that you own. And then let's just call this like key A, and I'm going to say it's on phone. And then I'm going to say that there's key B, and I'm going to say that this one is like backed up somewhere. And they have a lot of different backup options. Like you could put this in your iCloud account. You could put this on a PDF file and like save it somewhere. They have some way of like encrypting it and sending it to your email or something of that effect. But the idea is that you keep key B backed up. So it is self-sovereign, and that you do have full access to both keys that are necessary to spend funds from this on-chain wallet. The thing that's kind of weird about it is that then Moon has like a copy of key B. Like they've got your key B up here somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere in their infrastructure. And what they do is they kind of manage submarine swaps on your behalf. So if let's just like drag and drop some of our like fun Lightning node people from over here from our previous example. So let's say, you go here to your wallet and you're like, boop, 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 I want to receive some, coins. You generate your little, your Lightning QR code. You send it to your friend Bob, who's got all the Bitcoin. And Bob's going to, send Bitcoin to your wallet. What it really is that QR code has some hints that I guess redirect the Lightning payment to their infrastructure. And from here, so it's like, okay, let's just assume that Dina and, these people have channels and all that kind of stuff. So Bob routes the payment to Chan, and Chan, routes the payment to this Lightning node here. And from there, the Lightning node uses like one of your keys and like initiates a submarine swap and is able to kind of trustlessly swap the money from Lightning to on-chain. And then what you get in your wallet is an on-chain wallet, is basically an on-chain payment. So I'm going to like label that as on-chain payments via submarine swaps. So it's really tricky. And the mechanism by which submarine swaps work is I'm pretty sure it employs hash time lock contracts in order to make that work. That's just out of scope getting into that cryptography for this call. But it's basically sending Lightning funds on chain. And you've got an on-chain wallet. And the UX of this wallet, I gotta say, like a lot of people really like this wallet. It's they think differently. They do things very differently than other Lightning wallets do. And their whole solution to, the channel creation problem is like, well, the user doesn't have to create channels. Yes, Jalissa, that is Moonwallet. I saw your comment pop up on screen. Yeah, that's Moonwallet. They spell it MUUN, but that's Moonwallet right there. I think it's like moonwallet.com or .io or something like that. Their whole solution is, like I said, they just keep all the Lightning stuff up here in their infrastructure. There's no Lightning on this phone at all. And that just makes it so a little bit easier. The user never has to think about channels. But by having this whole multi-key, key A and key B thing, they have made it so that it is pretty trust minimized. They are incapable, to my knowledge, they are incapable of swiping your funds, which is important. So again, I don't know. I'm not an infrastructure engineer, so I don't know if this is the kind of thing that could scale to meet the needs of all users on Earth. It's a really clever and interesting idea. And, Moon is one of these wallets that is very often recommended to people because of how easy it is to use. But I'll cease my rambling there because I don't know what else I can really convey. I think it would probably be better to just turn it over now and see if anybody has questions about this idea. Sounds like nobody has questions about this one. So either I explained it so well, there's no possible way anyone could have a question, or I just fried everyone's brains with that. And
No, I heard a really interesting thing about Moon, but I agree with you. The scalability problem. They probably thought of it, but I'm wondering if the solution's gonna come up soon.
Yeah. And I don't know what the scalability problem even would be. Like I don't want to throw shade on their product and say it won't scale, because it seems to work so very well. My main point
Yeah.
of curiosity is that, like, I don't see other wallets doing the same thing. So my question, so my thought process is like, well, why are they the only ones doing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I mean, those are kind of just those are the different, like, methods I can think of in terms of getting the user their first channel, all the way from, like, if you think about this as a progression, like, let me just move this lightning node, lightweight node thing up here. If we think of all of this as a progression over here, I've got my, oh yeah, okay, everybody can see my screen. Yeah, over here I've got our dedicated full node, which is for like really advanced users, and then like manually creating on your phone, maybe a little easier, but still hard. These two are, I would say that this one, the on-chain one, in my opinion, is harder, though it kind of depends on the user. But if we think about it kind of like that, then we've got, oh my God, I've got too much stuff here. So if we think about it like that, then we kind of have everything like arranged here, roughly speaking, in order of really hard, less hard, kind of easy, pretty easy, very easy. But the easier it gets to do, the more clever we have to get about thinking about how to use Lightning. So like, my intuition is probably that this method right here is probably the one that is going to be the one that we have to employ the most often. Like, my thinking is that we want to take this method and just make the UX as good as possible, and go down that path. But that's my opinion, and there's a lot of different techniques and ways this could be done, and there may be techniques that nobody's come up with yet, or ones that I've failed to mention here. So that's kind of how I see it and what we're working with. I heard a sound in the chat here.
Yeah, I had a question that was you kind of answered my question without me needing to ask. So, but
Telepathic.
yeah, do you see like in the future that we're gonna keep all these methods? Like, I know like there's really hardcore Bitcoiners, like they want to control like everything, and there are also this like more general population that it's sort of more important that it's as easy as the fiat system right now. Yeah, how do you see like all the methods are going to be kept, or?
I think I would say that probably maybe some of these methods die out. I think that they'll probably all be kept. It's just a matter of like who uses them. Like,
yeah,
this method will continue to exist, running a dedicated full node. But the thing is that like, if you were like, I think about it like, I always like to compare these things to the early web. If you got in on the web in 1991, you were running a web server in your house, probably.
yeah,
And maybe for a couple years after that. And then web hosting kind of became professionalized, and it got to the point where then you would run it in a co-location, or then you'd run it in a you would rent you would go to a hosting provider and rent a dedicated VPS. Now we spin up hosting instances in the Amazon cloud, right? So what we've seen is that web hosting became more and more and more professionalized over time. But there are still people who run web servers out of their home. These are the home tinkerers, the home hackers, hobbyists, maybe someone who's studying for a degree in networking. So people definitely run home web servers. It's just they're the minority.
Yeah.
Most web servers are run professionally, and I think the same thing is going to happen with Lightning nodes. I think these dedicated full nodes are more and more often going to be run by professionals who are using it in a business capacity. Now there will still be some home hobbyists and tinkerers and stuff like that, but and many of the people who are running some of the people who run these Umbrel nodes nowadays, especially people with really well connected nodes, you never know, those people in the future could become LSP businesses if they become really good at running Lightning nodes. I'm sure that some people that ran home web servers in the 90s ended up starting hosting businesses. So those will exist. And at one point I had an app on my phone that allowed me to SSH into a server. And for those who don't know what the SSH means, it's like, when you use the command line to remotely connect to like a Unix server and start issuing commands. Now, I don't know, probably like 2% of the population, 1%, 0.5% of the human population, if even, is ever going to use that app, but it exists. So some people, there will be some nerds 30 years from now who are, manually creating channels from their phone. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to exist. But I think that more than likely, the majority of the human population is going to use maybe something like this, or maybe something like this, or maybe some other novel method that we're not talking about at the moment.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay's got a hand raised.
So I would ask, how do you think the user experience could be improved more so for beginner and first-time Bitcoiners? And I wanted to get your thoughts on what Strike and Cash App are doing with Lightning.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand that well. I think there's some background noise going on there. I couldn't understand.
Yeah, I didn't understand the question either.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
A little better.
Yeah, sorry. There's a little bit of background noise. Maybe I can just put it in the chat, but basically I was asking, how do you think the UX of these apps could be improved for beginner and first-time Bitcoiners?
Yeah, so I think if we were to let's just narrow that down and focus on something like this. I believe the question was how would we improve the UX for beginner and first-time Bitcoiners? So I would say let's just narrow it down and focus on something like this, or like Breeze, where the channels are created on the fly for you when you receive your first Lightning payment. It seems to me like the most frictionless method. And we have to get good. I mean, on the engineering side, I think that have to get good at opening channels automatically for the user. On the UX side, we have to get good at communicating what these fees are to people, because I think that for LSPs, for any of these wallet service Lightning service providers that are going to automatically open channels, there's a huge business model there. But in order to do that, they have to make money off of that. And if the user, if they're going to be making money off of the user, there needs to be some degree of transparency, and the user needs to feel comfortable with that. Like if you use PayPal, let's say, and they charge a 2% transaction fee for every payment you receive, and you use the service, you must feel comfortable with it. You must feel that the service they're providing is worth the fee. And so I think that there's some way we've got to just make this channel creation happen automatically, but we've got to, I feel like I'm probably repeating myself here, but we need to get that fee communicated. And I don't know what the answer to that is, because the thing with Lightning that's a little tricky right now is that just on a technical level, you don't really know what amount of fees you're going to pay when you make a Lightning payment. It's not nearly as like clear cut. Like when somebody makes an on-chain Bitcoin payment, you know exactly how many fees you're paying. You just don't know when it's going to get confirmed on the blockchain. With Lightning, you know that the payment's going to succeed in like a couple of seconds. But the issue is that you don't fully know the exact amount of like fee that you're going to pay. And so I don't know if Lightning service providers can, like, I don't know how Phoenix necessarily is, well, this is just for channel open, but like, I don't know how you get it to the point where the user knows exactly how much fees they're paying. And, maybe you just need to communicate that every single time they're about to send a payment, give them like a range, like it could cost between X and Y amount. But I think just trying to shift it towards communicating fees more appropriately would be my thoughts. But what are some other people's thoughts? Like in terms, like if we were to go down this route, like does anybody else on the call have thoughts about like, let's say we picked one of these methods, what would we do to tweak this method to improve the user's experience?
I guess my instinct, and maybe this is too open-ended for this question, but it would be, I feel like we don't actually ask users about their experiences that often. I feel like they're going to change over time too. What may be important now, it may not be important as we move forward and start developing in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever the case may be. And I guess I just hope that it's not just us talking about the user's experiences, but us also making sure we're doing like a lot of user research and getting honest feedback. And that's something I always think about with Lightning that could be a little bit better. Is of course we need to work on the tools we're building and the technical aspects, but actually learning from people's experiences who are using for this for the first time. So I would just say focusing on a little bit more user research would be a great actionable step forward here.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's very true. Like I often feel that like it's good like to start like with your own ideas and throw it out there, but it's really important to get like feedback, especially if we want to make this accessible to general population. And there's a huge like education aspect to it that comes in as well. Like I know like apps are apps and they're not like responsible for educating, but if we want like people to use them, I mean it's kind of falls on our responsibility to educate them.
Whoa, I just realized it's 10 after.
We got carried away, and also the technical difficulty. It took it away from the time, but it's always fun to do these. Same time next
Yeah.
week, guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and kill the recording there since we kind of got through everything. So give me just a minute here and see you next week.